Good morning, everybody. This is Alan Chell, one of the account managers at ABC Computers, and welcome to this month's webcast. We are featuring one of ABC's own third-party add-ons, which is our shop floor data collection module. Joining us today is Kevin Fonz, who is the Director of Business Systems at one of our clients out of Madison, Saris. And Kevin was instrumental in working with our existing crew in the initial development of this product. Joining Kevin is Chad Williams, who is the manager of all of our developers. He's located out of Waupaca, Wisconsin, and he's the chief person that's in charge of the ongoing development of the product. Kevin's going to start off by just telling us a little bit about his experience with the shop floor data collection, a little bit about himself and his company. And then he's going to show the add-on itself, and then towards the end of the product, we're going to, in the presentation, we'll ask Chad to just briefly talk about the implementation process from a high level and any future enhancements that he has planned. So with that, Kevin, go ahead and take it away.
Okay, now I have to get my. There we go. So I'm Kevin Fonz from Saris Cycling Group. I've been there for 15 years now. The company was founded in 1974, Sarah Fortune. We're in Madison, Wisconsin. We do design, development, and manufacturing there. We distribute products in over 30 countries. And 80% of the components purchased and manufactured are done domestically. Most of that's actually regional even. We have about 180 employees. We build to order with some extra to cover forecast. And we purchase and plan to that forecast. And we use standard costing. You can see here some of the products we use. We have different product lines of racks for the back of a vehicle, as you can see over here. Commercial parking systems and storage systems. We have this as more of a storage system. We do trainers for riding a bike indoor. We do an indoor cycle and a power measuring hub and computers and software that go with that. So as far as NAV goes in general, we went live July 4th or July 2004 on version 3.7. We've done upgrades pretty much one way or another almost every year. Right now we're on 2009 Classic and have been rolling out RTC by department. I still have yet to roll out my first department, but that's coming. About 36 user licenses, and then we have 10 light user licenses that we use for the shop floor, just to kind of cover that. We use pretty much every granule out there except for HR and jobs, and we're using third-party add-ons from Lanham, ChartLogic, and Altus. So the reason we looked at how we kind of build products, and we build products in assembly lines, cells, and traditional fabrication, which is like presses, bending, hand welding, robotic welding. The production components is back flushed at the time it's put into NAV. And then we had a receiving clerk doing this, so he'd spend about half his day entering output from the lines. Then we also record labor manually, and basically that's kind of by job, but it's more by item. And we would then manually enter that the next morning using 2 to 3 people. It would take them anywhere from an hour to 2 hours to do each, and it would go into a NAV table. And we'd use that table to compare reported time versus standard, to kind of give us an idea of where we are versus standard, and we can go back to our lines and look at, do we need to improve efficiency? Do we need to adjust the standard? And what might have happened day to day. So when we looked at going to a data entry system, we had some goals. One was to enter the output of the production more real time versus batch throughout the day by the receiving clerk. And we really want to reduce the time to manually enter the labor. That was taking up a lot of time that we could spend on other things. And in the process, we wanted to free up the receiving person and the people entering the labor to do more productive work. Like I said, we were using people from our shipping area, one of our planning clerks sometimes, and our receiving clerk were tied up, for multiple hours doing this. We also wanted to simplify the entry so anybody on the shop floor could do it. We have sometimes, in some cases, it's lower tech people with some with limited English skills. And we also want to reduce the paperwork on the line. They were filling out 2 to 3 forms every time. A lot of it had repetitive information. Some had some information, not all the information, and so we kind of standardized that down. And then we wanted to add the ability to track our rework labor, and in many cases charge that back to a vendor if it was quality related. So let me get right into the actual product. So let me show you quick. This is the actual login screen. You log in. You select whatever user you are. You can actually have a password. There's some settings over in the in the vision that I'll show you. But right now, what we would do is we would enter an assembly. It would come up with a production order. The person on the line would match that so that it would match whatever production they had to make sure everything was in sync. They'd enter how long they would be working on the job, and let's say an hour this time. Setup time we only use in our fabrication areas, and then the number of employees they have working on their line. And then the output of how many they made. I happen to know 40 is a skid quantity. So if we hit finish, it'll actually post it to a table in NAV. So what it does then is it puts it into what we call the approval worksheet, and you can see this is the actual item that came right from the data collection software. Here's the output quantity, production order number, item number, and then somewhere here's the runtime. It's way over here. Not sure if I'm showing number of people. But so if I go to post this, I know am I going to actually get an error on this item, or I should get an error, because I know there's a sub-assembly that they're supposed to post before they post this. So what that did is it actually put this into the output table and actually posted the output based on the settings we have. If I was short that sub-assembly, actually let me check that quick and see if I can make that happen for you. All right, so let me take those out so that you guys can see the error that you do actually get if you don't have enough components. So we're back here. And the approval worksheet, and if I post this, I'll now see there's right here it shows a processing error, and I can see what the error is. It says item 16680 is not in inventory. So I can go back and we can add that in. Yeah, let me refresh that. And so now if I post this again, what it's going to do is the way we have it run, it'll run through the sheet and post everything that it can post. In this case, I probably will still have an error on the first line, but when I go back then again and post, it'll clear that out. So it says I'm still short that, but we put it in, so now I can post it, and it's in. So what it's doing is it's creating the outputting the production, it's backflushing all my components, it's backflushing my labor at standard, and it's populating this, what we have for our labor table. You go down to the bottom, and you can see here's the 3 lines that we just entered. And so it populates. Let me show the setup quick, and maybe Chad can chime in on what some of the different items are in the setup.
Yeah, so the first one there, require clock in and clock out, which you do not use. Kevin showed earlier where he just entered a runtime. If we had enabled that feature, restarted the app, it would actually bring up it would add 2 buttons to the interface where the user could hit clock in, and it would actually grab that current time, put it on there, and then the user would actually go back and clock in. So if you had a little bit more of a rigid structure where you wanted them to physically clock in and clock out and not just put the time in, that's what that feature enables. The item stock out warning, I believe that's the one you just showed.
Yeah, with the error.
With the error. Then we just have some setup fields, you know, rounding precision, unit of measure type stuff. So I'll kind of just skip over those 2 capacity ones. They're more for internal usage. Enable team clocking enables the field where you had the number of employees, where Kevin entered the number of employees. If it was going to be for just 1 person, you could turn that off, and it's always just a 1-to-1. If you have that enabled, it shows that field. Disable time editing, that applies more in with a clock in, clock out. Again, if you had where you wanted your users to clock in, and when they hit the button, that was it, they couldn't change it. Or if you want it to be somewhat flexible where they could clock in, but you know, maybe they you know, wanted to edit it after the fact, that's what that feature would allow. Require password, that was, again, as Kevin said when he logged in, that would add another box there that required the user to also enter a password. So again, kind of lets you scale on the amount of security you need. Next one, again, is another more of an internal setup feature, but the output journal batch name, when Kevin posted his work there before, it actually takes that data and posts it through NAV's output journal. So what we do is we funnel that through its own batch so that we don't conflict with anybody else who's using the output journal. And then the next 2 fields, automatic posting, that basically enables it so that it will, in the background, we'll use the Vision application server or the NAS. It will go through and could post those automatically. That way, when Kevin goes in there, he's only dealing with exceptions rather than trying to post everything that would post fine.
And also, if you uncheck that, you can have it in a multi-step process where somebody would go through the approval worksheet and post that, and somebody else may go and post the output then. Since it's set to automatic, it just flows straight through for us.
Right. Yeah, and that kind of lets you, depending on the approvals you want, you know, some people want to be able to review that time. They don't want to just go from what came in from the shop. So you kind of have a couple of levels that you could, you know, if you workflow through it, where you could provide quality checks, I suppose, of the data. The output, the auto posting output, again, that's just the batch name that it's going to use. In this case, we're using the same one, so that's the same as the field above their output journal batch. Automatic posting on NAS, that's just the frequency at which it runs. So every 4 minutes, it will run the posting and go through and post everything it can out of the worksheet. The next one is finished orders.
So that
one's one of your.
Yeah, I can show you. I'll show you that in a second. Finished orders is a mod we put in there so that if you want to post time or rework or something against a finished order, it's how many months of data you want to load into the Luna web app. And we just set it at 1. If you need to go back a couple months, you could set it to 2. So we only needed 1. We don't do it very often. And then the work cutoff time was another one that we added where we have a second shift, and we wanted everything on first and second shift to get posted in into the same day. So if my second shift goes in and starts entering stuff at 2 in the morning today, it will actually show a date, I think for output and for my labor table of whatever, 11/28, which is today, instead of 11/29, because then we can compare the first and second shift performance on the same day or same work day. There's nothing in there, right? So, and then the other setup you have is you have your employees, and this is where you can, I think this is where you also have, yeah, you have a number, we have a username, and then we have what shift they're on, so that helps populate the labor table based on what shift they're at. I was going to show you the, no, I was going to show you the, so right here we can say we can enter time on finished orders, and this will bring up a list of finished orders, and that's where that month comes in by just checking that little checkbox there. So now if I want to enter rework, everything changes a little, where I can enter a number for the rework. I could have a vendor number. I could have a corrective action or ECN number I want to track it against. And you can enter how much time you spent on the rework, how many employees were on it, and how many pieces they reworked. And so all this one is going to do for us is it's just going to post this time into our labor table. It doesn't do anything with output. So it's purely for labor tracking for that. I hit finish, and I can go back in here, and I can go back to our labor table. Go to the end. I don't see it right now, but
It's done with worksheet.
oh yeah, it'll be in the approval worksheet. Yeah, I forgot about that. I'm used to everything posting automatically, so yep. So there it is, and then you can see that here's the vendor, here's the corrective action, and then I can take this data and report on it. Okay, so let's go back to, and then the other thing we do is we'll run some daily reports and make sure something they didn't miss something on the line, or they double entered something, and then go back and fix those. And then the other report they get daily is a kind of an efficiency report where it compares more than normal, or we have ones in the green where they were actually ran better than normal. And you can drill down into it and see first shift and second shift and things like that. So what has it done for us? All of our production and rework labor is going right through the application now. We automated it, so it runs this is 5, but it's actually 4 based on what that setup was. So it's posting all this automatically for us. The only time the receiving guy needs to go in and look is he looks at the errors that are in there periodically. Some of them will clear themselves up as later in the day they post the sub-assemblies if they're working on larger quantities. And sometimes he has to go prod people to get them, or he might have to do a cycle count of some items. But that interaction is just a fraction of what he used to do. It used to take him hours, and now it's maybe an hour a day, usually like 10, 15 minutes. We've reduced errors pretty drastically because now the same person entering the job is entering the labor and the output, and they can compare it versus their production order, and so they have fewer errors where they enter a wrong item number and things like that. It's saving us about 4 to 6 man-hours per day, which equates to an annual savings around $30,000 to $35,000 a year. And it's really allowed our people to do, focus more on actual receiving of incoming goods, some of the quality inspections, things like that. And then our other people who were in the shipping area are spending their time shipping product out instead of entering labor. So, and Chad probably has some of the requirements and stuff they're working on.
Yeah, so I just wanted to, thank you, Kevin, wanted to kind of just speak briefly to the requirements and then walk through just kind of at a high level what the deployment of the application is like, and then speak a little bit about our ABC's future vision of the shop floor app. So to start off with the requirements, requirements are very straightforward. Basically, we're just looking at having XP Service Pack 3 or higher. The main requirement of the application, it's written in C# and Windows Presentation Foundation, it's called. Those have a requirement of .NET 4.0, so that's really the main thing that we're looking there. From a hardware and memory standpoint, it's very light, would run on a very simple machine. Then as far as NAV goes, the way that this all works is with the 2009 NAV web services. So it will require that your NAV installation is on version 2009 SP1 or higher. You don't necessarily have to be using the RTC at this point, but we do need to be able to set up the web services and the service tier to run the application. As far as setup and deployment is fairly straightforward. It's a simple setup application that we will run to install the client. That's the part that Kevin was interacting in. There's objects that we will then need to merge into your database. So the setup form and table and everything that we were looking at, the worksheet that Kevin had open, all of those are custom objects that we will bring into NAV. And then I guess the final part is then just the setup of the web services, which is really just a matter of running a function that we've got off of the setup card in NAV, which will then enable all the web services that we need. And then I guess then just to roll into a little bit of the future vision, when we started this project with Kevin, I think we were saying about 1.5 years, maybe 2 years ago, the idea was really to keep a very simple platform and then be able to build in specifically what Kevin and Saris needed and really be able to do that for other customers as our vision. As we've kind of come through this now, we've identified a lot of features that we feel we would like to add and have started adding some of them. So what we've done internally here at ABC is set up kind of a product steering committee, if you will, and it's going to be through that committee that we're going to go through, identify features that we'd like to add. We will certainly be involving Kevin and other customers who are using the product from time to time to get their feedback and just constantly learning and evolving the product. But then I think always trying to keep, as many people in software want to do, you want to try to keep it simplistic. So we want to add the features, but we don't want it to become overburdening because, again, the idea is to put it out on the shop floor where maybe you've got lower tech users that want to work with it. We want to make it simple and save people time. So a couple of things I know that are in the works from lot tracing and some other features that we're looking to roll into the product moving into Q1 and Q2 of next year. So I guess with that,
from our standpoint, I mean, it's been really nice from that front is that you have a base application and it's really easy for them to adapt it to whatever our needs or somebody else's needs. That's pretty quick and simple and really minimal as far as, if you were doing an upgrade or something, it wouldn't really interfere with anything at all. It's just
right, yeah,
it's on its own and points where it needs to point. So, any questions at all?
Yeah, great guys. We can open it up for questions now. If you have a mic on your system, go ahead and raise your hand. I'd be happy to unmute you. If you don't, you can go ahead and type in any questions, and I'll go ahead and read them out. While we're waiting for any questions to come in, I want to thank both Kevin and Chad for their time today. If anybody would like to have a follow-up phone call to discuss how this might be applicable to your company, please let me know. It is definitely value priced. The software is only $2,995 plus enhancement with a relatively straightforward implementation process. So once again, please let me know if any of you would like to explore this in the future. Not seeing any questions come through. So I am going to go ahead and have this presentation posted on our website within an hour or two if you'd like to share it with others in your organization. And once again, thanks to Kevin and thanks to Chad for their time today.
Thank you.
Yep.